Hello everybody and welcome to another stream. Super excited to be with my academic buddies again. So today we are going to do a stream on my workflow for the revision process. And I'm also going to use that to highlight some of the features of Scrivener that I really like and that I think are really helpful for complex and long writing projects such as academic papers. Okay, so first, what is the goal of the revision workflow? What comes in and what gets out? So what comes in are review letters, so letters that the reviewers and the editor write to suggest changes in your paper. And at the end, what you have is at the output is a new version of the paper. Okay, so each step in this workflow has different goals, and I'm here in the corner because I really want to show you this in Scrivener and how I do this. Okay, so just to recap, Scrivener has divides a research project into two parts. The draft, which is where you write, so here's my introduction, my theory, my methods, my results, my discussion, okay, and there will be a conclusion once I get to it. And then there's the research folder. And in the research folder, you keep everything that you need to write your paper or to revise your paper that is not your actual paper, okay? So there are 3 bits of the research folder that I use in a review process, okay? The first one is reviews, okay? So in the reviews, I store in PDF format each review that I get. So this paper, I submitted it to 2 conferences and then I'm on the second round for a journal, okay? So this is my last review, okay? And you'll see this is a printout of the email, the specific journals and reviews over email with the reviewer comments, okay? So this is just a printout. So the first thing that I do, step 0, if you will, is I will print out the review email in PDF and move it here, okay? Now, this is super useful because, you want to be sure when you're doing a second round of reviews that you're not reverting to some things that people didn't like in the first round of reviews, okay? And that's really important. So first step, you move the review letter into Scrivener, okay? Being into Scrivener, you can use, for example, Scrivener's double window layout to make notes and process your reviews. So that's step 1. Now, step 2. Step 2 is to translate your reviews into actionable items. Translate your reviews into actionable items, okay? So the way I do that is I begin by going to my notes folder where I keep notes for each part of the paper and add a document that I title review notes, okay? So in the review notes, what I do is I will copy paste. So again, this is why Scrivener is great, right? I have the reviews on this screen, right? And I just copy paste. I'm just going to do a quick example, okay? I copy paste comments from the editor and the reviewers arranged into the main parts of the paper. So this is the introduction, okay? The theory section, the methods, and so on. And this is verbatim copy paste. Now, the reason why I do this is mostly an emotional reason. It has to do with my insecurities as a writer. It has to do about fighting procrastination. It has to do with this, horrible part of our job in one sense, that where we always get extensive, detailed, and intelligent, if we're lucky, and I'm very lucky with these reviewers, detailed feedback on your work. So for me, copying from the review letter and putting into this sequence of feedback according to the sections of the paper: introduction, theory, methods, results, discussion, conclusion, really helps me do that, because this now looks a little bit more like a to-do list. It still has the quotes, okay? It still has the quotes, but it looks a little bit more like a to-do list than a review letter. So for me, this helps me take out the emotional layer, and many times the emotional language. In this review letter, one of the reviewers, keeps saying that they're confused about one thing and the other, that something is not well written. So I don't need that information to decide how to revise the paper. So if I just copy paste what they tell me to do, and I can leave out this layer that that has more of an emotional consequence on myself. And this is really important, because not only for well-being, which is a very good reason in itself, but also because procrastination comes from insecurity and low confidence. And so doing this allows you to overcome that push to procrastinate, because you don't want to go back to this negative letter. Okay? Now, what I'll do is, as I do this, as I go to the letter and I copy paste, I note below each quote from the review letter the sections where this could go. So for example, this one is for the introduction, but it also matters for the methods. Let me open this up a little bit. So it also matters for the methods and the results. So I'll put this here, okay? And at the end of the second stage, what I will have is all of the comments from the editor and the reviewers arranged by section, okay? By section of the paper, okay? Now, the third step is that I move each of these comments to my notes for each of these sections, okay? So, for example, you'll see the methods here. It has also the results, okay? So the results here, I've been working on this, so I'll, okay. So the results here has the text from review letters copied, okay? Now, the difference is that these are not just copied, but there is an action item for me. So here is remove appropriation from the text. Here is improve the names of categories. Here is improve presentation of data. Okay. Here is find a better quote, and so on. Okay. So now I have all of the contents of the review letters arranged by section, so that I can work on each section separately and with an action connected to it. Okay, so what do I need to do? Sometimes when it is a little bit more complicated, I'll show you an example, I'll just write deal with this. Okay, deal with this. So here it's a little bit this quote talks about the framing, the research question, the method. So just a little bit too complex to just address in a title. So I just wrote, okay, I need to deal with this later. Okay, so this is what I do. At the end of this third step, where I'm copying from this review notes document into the notes for each section of the paper, I basically have all of the reviewer comments split by section of the paper and with a brief description of what I have to do in response. Okay? Now, once I have done this, I move to step 4. And step 4 is rewriting. Okay? Is rewriting. So the way I rewrite is I always work with Scrivener on split window. Maybe I have a slight ADHD, so maybe it just helps me with that. But it also has a functional purpose here. I'll go back to another folder in my research section of Scrivener, which is the previous drafts, where I keep the Scrivener the draft folder for previous versions of the papers. Sorry. Okay, so for example, if I'm working on the theory section, I will have here the theory section that I wrote. Okay, and I will do one of two things. If this is a major revision, okay, I will just have a blank document and begin retyping. And sometimes I'll copy paste like quotes or bits of text, but because it's a major revision, that normally means that I have to rewrite the theory. So there's no point in editing this. For this current paper, this is a minor revision. Okay, so if this is a minor revision, what I'll do is I'll just copy paste and edit directly. Okay, so for example, at the moment I'm working on the results, and the way I work on it is I copy pasted the results section here, and I just edit it live. Okay, so you'll see that now I ended here. I have to do this, deal with this comment, which is an interpretation of a quote on complaining about change. So I just highlighted this here to know that this is where I'm at, and I will edit directly in the text. Okay. Now, if it is a major revision, what I may do occasionally is I will do an entire outline. So I'll outline from this, from the notes here of what I have to do. I'll use this to create an outline and then write. Why? Well, because if it's a major revision, some of the comments will ask you to work on multiple parts of the theory at the same time. So there's no way you're going to write the text, linearly from start to finish. Okay, so that's the fourth step. So it's a rewriting step. As I rewrite, to help me keep track of what I'm doing, but also to have a sense of accomplishment, I'll write done, and I'll scratch the text of the feedback. Okay. This basically means that I know that I've done this, so it's a little bit of a check mark, and will also give me a sense of achievement. As I scroll down, I will see that, okay, I've done all of this, so I only have this to do. Okay. Do not discount motivation. This is not just cognitive. This is not just what I've done, what I need to do, but also motivating and keeping the momentum in your working on the review process. Okay. So that's the fourth step. So I use my notes to edit the previous version of the text. Okay. Again, this is a minor revision. In a major revision, I'll use my notes to do an outline and then write from that outline. Okay. Then after that, after I have everything done, I will reread the review letter, because sometimes I may miss something from the review letter to the review notes. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes, again, it's an emotionally charged process. It's your first contact with the review letter that is saying not so nice things about your work. So I get back to it and I read it like in one go, and then I read my draft in one go. What I'm doing here is I'm just like taking the helicopter view and making sure that I address not only every individual comment, but the overall spirit of the review, right? If the reviewers want me to, make the paper more compelling, then I'll do that. Make the paper speaking more to the literature, then I'll check for that, okay? And then, so this stage number 5 is read the review letters and then read the entire paper with the review letters in your mind. So you should do this within a couple of days. Then I will have the first draft of the review done. And after the first draft of the review done, I will follow the steps that I usually follow when writing a first draft. This I've addressed in previous videos before, but they basically consist of rereading the text to make sure that the writing is clear, that nothing is too long or convoluted. I then will move to Hemingway and Pro Writing Aid to make sure that sentence length is okay, that grammar is okay, that language variety is okay, and then I will ship it to reviewers, okay? I only write the review letter at the end of this entire process because I want to be able to copy paste for some parts of the review letter text from the paper, and obviously I want to make sure that this is the final text with no mistakes and with clear sentences, okay? So that's it. That's the process. So first, copy paste from the review letter into review notes. Review notes organized by section of the paper to clear out all of the emotional reactions to the text and to have this organized in a way that is clear. Then I move the review notes into the notes for each section of the paper. When I do so, I write a little title saying what I have to do. For example, here, improve the interpretation of this quote. So this turns review letters into a to-do list, okay? Then major revisions, I work on an outline and then rewrite the paper. Minor revisions, I use this to make changes to the paper, the previous version of the paper directly. Then read the entire review letters, read the entire paper, just to make sure I'm following not only the letter but also the spirit of the reviews, and then the typical process to make sure that the paper is well written, good language, nice sentences, good choice of words, and so on. That's my method. So feel free to ask questions if you want on the comments of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you back on Thursday. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.